Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Property AI Report. This is your weekly digest of all things property and AI, brought to you by me, Mal McCallion, and my good friend and co-host, Matt Goddard. Matt, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Mal. For the second week on the bounce, I've just got my voice back after a fairly extensive gig last week. Ready to rock and roll, quite possibly.
Oh, let's get in.
Pun intended.
And it was a real 90s nostalgia fest, was it for you?
Proper metal in the home of heavy metal Birmingham. There was a lot of hair, which obviously I don't have, and a lot of leather, and some touching tributes to Ozzy Osbourne, the late great Ozzy Osbourne. So an emotional night.
R.I.P. Good stuff. We have plenty to get through and some big stuff to get through. We are going to not dive into our usual property news off that strand. We're instead going to start with our AI and tech news. All right, Matt, there's only one big story this week, isn't there? ChatGPT-5 is here. Hey, what do you think?
So it hit Thursday night, didn't it? I got it on my iPad first, and it's so exciting. I didn't know what to do with myself, especially given that I was pretty much on the road for the rest of the week. That's all Friday, isn't it? So mine's been fairly limited, but so far, really impressive from a coding development point of view. Maybe a little bit more meh in general use cases. What about yourself?
Yeah, pretty. So again, I think if coding is your thing, then yes, it's brilliant. But then you've had really great coding stuff from other places as well already. So that didn't blow me away. The speed is good. I think the speed is really good. The fact that it chooses which model to use, it decides whether you're going to want to use a reasoning model or whether you're going to use just one of the kind of core chat models. But yeah, overall, pretty underwhelmed by it, I have to say. I thought that there was so much hype around it, and we've been sitting there for about 3 months, like just going, it's coming soon. And then Sam Altman, the hype meister, has been sitting there saying, yeah, it's going to be a hot AI summer. And it landed, and it's good. It's good. It's not amazing.
I think on the coding and developing, I think it definitely is outperforming quite a lot of what people have seen so far. And I, from a front end point of view, so using things like Vercel and other sort of front end coding AI tools, it's come across as quite samey at times. I chose Vercel because that's probably the best. Whereas GPT-5 so far has been turning out some quite impressive new looking stuff. It doesn't look almost that homogenized AI that you've talked about before. I also found it quite interesting when I sent you that screenshot Thursday night, and there was only one model picker, and it was obviously GPT-5. And then quite quickly there was the GPT-5 thinking model, and now there's talk that 4.0's coming back.
Yeah, so they've also had GPT-5 Pro, and then yeah, Altman was on a Reddit, Ask Me Anything, and basically all the Redditors were absolutely going at him big time. And yeah, in the end, I think he crumbled a bit, and they were going, "Yeah, can we bring back 4.0?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll think about it." So, it is coming back, or if he was just like, "Can you all just shut up now?" But yeah, no, I think that look, all of these moments in time are important, and we will look back and we'll go, "Oh yes, August 2025 was when GPT-5 dropped, and that'd be great." I think that it is less of a step up than GPT-4 to 4 was. I think 4.0, which was the Omni, which was when it had like multimodal and it could see images and all that sort of stuff really well. Sorry, it could interpret images and produce images and all that sort of stuff, was much more of a leap than this 4.0 to 5. I also think that actually, of all the things that ChatGPT, that OpenAI have released over the last month, say, last 4 weeks, that actually when it released the agent model, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago, I thought that was much more of a big deal.
Yep.
So then, as we've chatted about, the kind of open source stuff as well, and that's going to be really huge, and that was just the week before.
Well, I think that, yeah, as you touched on there, so the agent coming along was definitely bigger in my mind because it was a completely new use case, wasn't it? It's sort of like when reasoning first came along as well. And if anything, Tuesdays under the radar, when we were recording the pod last time, it hadn't been released, but Tuesday with ChatGPT OSS, so open source series, being released. So for everyone listening, so at the moment, ChatGPT-5 you pay for, even if you don't pay for the subscription of Plus or Pro, you're paying in terms of your data and your usage is being monitored and being helped to train the model going forward in the analytics. Whereas this ChatGPT OSS is really advanced, includes reasoning, and is free. So you can effectively, if you had a powerful enough computer, and I'm talking 16 gigs of RAM and a GPU unit, you could download it to your local laptop, disconnect from the entire digital world, no Wi-Fi, no broadband, no connection, no 5G, and still run your model. There's arguably that the iPhone 17, when it comes out, could be running these large language models locally thanks to OpenAI's OSS. And actually, it makes OpenAI live up to its name for once, doesn't it? It's open source, it's free. There's no commercial cost for using this. And so I'd argue that Tuesday was a bigger announcement than Thursday, to be honest.
100%. Yeah. And just for those listening, so the reason why you might want to download this stuff and run it on your local machine is basically security more than anything else, right? It's actually that your data will remain yours, will not leak out into anybody else's training regime. And it will just be, yeah, you'll just be able to run some amazing stuff on a local machine. So yeah, it's huge. I think it's a massive step forward. The talk is that essentially they're going to release the last model on open source when they release the next one. So this
Yep.
one's kind of as good as 4.0 and plus the 03, I think, or mini. But yes, it is. It's a phenomenal piece of kit. It is. Yeah, it's free. It's open source. You can download it, and that's going to change everything in my view. So yeah, really huge moment. That was Tuesday. Thursday's GPT-5. Bit more meh, but yeah, I think over time, just like ChatGPT-4 improved and increased in its capabilities, I'm sure they'll be adding extra stuff into it through. So yeah, so look, it continues to. I often think that we're just sitting and going, yeah, let's criticize the most phenomenal human creation of all time, and yeah, just pick some holes in it. So yeah, that's what we'll do because we're in time.
Oh, we're not doing that yet because we haven't moved on to 11 Labs AI music generator, and surely that's the most incredible creation of all time. Or is that just because I'm still in my music, live music headspace?
Does it do like hair metal?
It
Because
can do. You could have a verse of hair metal, and
oh,
then a bridge of reggae, and then a chorus of swing if you wanted to. You can literally use the model to create a song and then change it up using the UI into different genres for each element of that recording.
so under normal circumstances, as regular listeners know, I try and stick to the same topic for some time. So we'll return to OpenAI in a second. In the meantime, we're going to talk about Matt's obsession, which is 11 Labs music. So Matt, what? So this is just like a whole new way of generating music, is because the Udio and Sumo have been
So,
sorry, Sumo, yes, a
yeah,
little while, and they are on record as basically we've just ripped whatever we could find and it's highly illegal and all that sort of stuff. Presumably this is different, right? Because 11 Labs and they're notionally good guys.
they're leaning into the audio generation, aren't they? I thought actually we'd moved on from OpenAI, so that's I thought we'd pull it along to 11 Labs, but they're leaning into the audio generation, aren't they? They did voice, they've gone along with sound effects and background noises. Do they do the bubble between songs, the songs between chats for us?
Yeah,
Is that
yes,
11 Labs?
yeah, they do all of our yeah. So our incidental music, indeed, yes.
Yes, it's all about audio generation, and they've now followed on Suno, as you say, who's been used to create things we expect, like the Velvet Sundown and the various songs that have turned up on Spotify. And actually, this came out and it's proving really impressive. And I joke around the fact you can have it generate a song, choose your theme, and it'll generate lyrics and backing tracks. But then it allows you to edit it in real time, choosing the sections and allowing you to choose the genres, for example, and update the song accordingly. So we could have done, given it's just come to its fitting conclusion, and I'll have to ask about that later on, is your world tour or UK resistance tour. Give out a soundtrack for that when you were turning up on stage, and we could have got 11 Labs to generate that for us.
Could have
A fitting theme, Joan.
yeah, for every one of the 60 locations that I went to, I could have had a little theme tune, couldn't I? Oh,
Your littlest hobo's playing in my head just now.
old school, showing our age, mate. But yeah, no, yes, I really enjoyed the tour 60. Yeah, I finished up last week, did Scotland. So yeah, we could have had one of the Granite City, isn't it? Aberdeen, that's what they call it.
Correct. Yeah.
So yeah, Dundee and various other places in between. So, yeah, I think 11 Labs drive to own the audio space, as you say, is really powerful and really impressive. They started very early. They're still broadly independent. And they've just been, yeah, smashing it. And I think adding music in is natural. They've done the sound effects, as you say. And yeah, I think that they are becoming a real kind of force to be reckoned with. I'm sure as we go into the AI age of creation of, as you say, like music and even film soundtracks and things like that, then it's going to be a really important part of a lot of our culture going forward. So, yeah, well done to them. All right, next up, we're not going to talk about OpenAI again, actually. So yeah, you're right. We're going to go into DeepMind. So Google's DeepMind has got a brand new Genie 3 world model. The important thing about this world model, okay, Genie 3, is that actually it creates on the fly. So as you are looking at it moving around, you give it a prompt and it will create a world. And then once it's created that world, you can move around it. And then when you go back to what you were looking at before, unlike previous models, it actually remembers it. So that on one of the videos, it's somebody's painting a wall. They go and look around, and then they come back, and the paint is exactly what they've painted. So I just think this is going to be so amazing. It's just it's the early kind of skirmishes, the early start of having these world models, which really give AI a kind of an understanding of all the physics and how one travels through a world. And if you imagine things like games, you imagine even things like in our industry, like property, right? Actually, it's going to be able to potentially give us a moment where those kind of virtual tours are actually knitted together pictures of whatever, and you can literally go and peer in a corner and look up and all around, and everything will be as it could be. It's amazing.
It's incredible, isn't it? And I know it was only a couple of weeks ago now that we were at Property Academy's All Members Day, and I was chatting to Matt Lee from PBS because someone had done a presentation on one of these world models and shown the pictures being rendered together and then extended and then created into worlds. And then I looked it up, and I think it's World Labs at the time, so worldlabs.ai, where you could take a picture and then browse yourself through. But the context of that world was quite limited, but stunning, don't get me wrong. And now Genie, you can take things. So an example of Hopper's Nighthawks, that famous picture of the bar cafe in the night time with people sat inside and it's from outside. Someone put that into Genie and was browsing it and extending it out to different areas of the picture that weren't captured. And it was incredible, just the speed at which it was rendering, and based on that sole input as well was really phenomenal.
Yeah, and then you can imagine just the stories that come out of it, the different narratives. So it's going to give an explosion of creativity. And this is what, whenever creatives, and I understand why there's a lot of kind of resistance to AI and worry about AI and what it's going to do to these jobs. I think actually it's going to change stuff, and it's going to give us new opportunities. And perhaps those that aren't necessarily as technically gifted, it's going to give them the ability to imagine, to put in prompts, and to really realize a lot of their kind of ideas, which may have been limited by technical or basically the ability to play wonderful music, to your point about 11 now, to be able to draw or to be able to code. And it just means that it democratizes all of these things that hitherto have been very much the preserver of those who've spent 3, 5, 10 years studying something, or just happens to be an absolute yes, a draw. So yeah, no, I think it's going to change everything all over again, and I think it's well worth keeping in mind. So that's Genie 4 from DeepMind. Next up, we have to talk about Grok again. So
It's getting spicy now, isn't it?
it did. Oh man. So Grok, for those that don't necessarily remember, is Elon Musk's AI from XAI. This is his version of ChatGPT, but it's got less guardrails, hasn't it? So it's far easier to get it to do things that some people, probably your parents, not yours personally, Matt, but parents would probably disapprove of.
I think Dad listens to this, so we can get him to write in or whether
Excellent.
and say whether he would approve of it or not. But I did see there's a spicy mode basically, isn't there? And you can ask it to create pictures that maybe your ChatGPT would rally against or rail against. And there's one example I saw, which is without even prompting it, apparently, or allegedly, as you like to say, and was they'd asked it to create a picture of Taylor Swift at a gig or something, and Grok in spice mode returned Taylor Swift in not safe for work outfits, which is probably a bit too open and available in terms of how accessible it is.
Yeah, it's really, I look again without getting all prudish and stuff like that. Yeah, so this is Grok Imagine. It's XAI's new AI image and video generator, so it does actually do moving images as well. It's been a while. To be fair to Grok, that an XAI, they have moved very fast to become one of the leading frontier models. But they were missing an image generator or a decent image generator of their own, and also a video creator. And yeah, so now they've released it, and now, of course, in order to get the lols and the attention, it has come through with having the ability to, yeah, basically produce lots of images of lots of females without very many close-up. So yeah, that's what it has done. Also in Grok news, Elon Musk has said that X plans to introduce ads into Grok's responses. So yeah, not content with kind of necessarily corrupting the imagery, it's now going to corrupt the text by basically you can buy your way, it's pay to win. You can buy your way into the top answers for Grok. I think that is going to significantly deflate whatever trust is actually in Grok. And yeah, it strikes me. Yeah, I think that in the world of AI, the currency that everybody is going to need to really pay attention to and to guard jealously is trust. Everybody's going to see stuff, and we're going to be sitting there just absolutely drowning in this slop, going, I don't even know what's real or not in many cases. So trust in a brand is going to be your absolute gold. You have to
Absolutely.
do
And
everything above board, and I just think having ads in answer is just going to mean that you're never going to know whether this is true or not.
I think just because you mention it there, and sometimes you and I do talk about these phrases, and because we're so immersed in it, we tend to slop them around, pun intended. Is AI slop is that specific term, isn't it, for the just sheer volume of noise that's being created by AI that makes it difficult to pick out the truth from the false or the created. And it's we talk about it with video content, don't we? Is what's the volume of video content on socials now is full of AI slop. So when you say slop, you're not just referring to the old-fashioned world of stuff that gets lugged around in buckets,
No.
but also I think from the flip side of it, if we look back at how platforms have evolved, so take Facebook for example, starting off as that sort of community and then it become an advertising platform basically, hasn't it? I'm intrigued still to see how people put a commercial angle on AI and how Grok does bring these things up. So we've got that whole Google AI search, which with Google now with the AI overviews and the old paid for ads dropping down on the viewers. How are these companies going to carry on making the commercial revenues that they have done historically? And maybe Grok's the first one to think of it as something and see what that paradigm looks like.
It's a break cover. Yeah, I think Perplexity has been toying around with some of it as well. But obviously, they're not necessarily an actual model themselves. They just use others. But yeah, I think that having adverts alongside, like Google does currently on its organic search results, I think that makes sense, and I think that people will accept that. I just think that if people have the slightest whiff that any of the answers that are coming to them directly in the meat of the answer is
Like product placement basically.
yeah, exactly. It's paid for. Then they're going to start thinking, why don't I just go and use? Because it's not like there aren't a million other ones to go and use. But anyway, maybe he's just playing preaching to the choir. He's got obviously on X a lot of people who love him very much. So yeah, perhaps they'll just follow the advertising and it'll all be
An
fine.
echo chamber.
Yeah, exactly. But we shall see. But yes, it's certainly not something that I think I would advocate anywhere else because people will run to the hills. All right, so that is our AI news for this week. So in our reverse order, we're now going to talk about property news. All right, in property news this week, we follow the Property Portal Watch podcast. It's really great. If you don't subscribe to it, then go and subscribe to it now. It's got Simon Baker, it's got Ed, and it's got Harvey on as well. They are really good. And they were interviewing this week the chief exec of Grupo OLX, which is essentially the Brazilian Rightmove. And he revealed some interesting stats about AI traffic to his portal. Okay, so if you imagine that essentially it's the equivalent of Johan Svanström, CEO of Rightmove, actually revealing how many leads he was getting from AI. And he said, so this is the guy from the chief exec of Grupo OLX. He said that basically his portal is getting 5% of its leads from AI, all right, which is small but obviously growing. And this is only after a couple of years. And also, it was converting 4 times more frequently. So, what that means is that essentially people are going on to ChatGPT, say they are looking for a property with a sea view, I don't know, probably somewhere near Christ the Redeemer.
Horse riding, you like normally, don't you? Throw some horse riding in there.
Horse riding, absolutely. Whatever is your particular thing, right? So you just describe your perfect life, your perfect home. ChatGPT will search the entire internet and find it, find as many as possible, bring them back to you, and then you can click off onto wherever those links go to. Now, it is the case that it doesn't just hit portals. Actually, what if you go and do this, and I would urge you to, so on ChatGPT 5, click on agent mode, go search for your dream home, and you will see that actually what it does is it serves loads and loads of different links. So some of them will be agent websites. There'll be a couple of portals in there. It's unusual at this point to find actually Rightmove because I think there's Rightmove that when I've been doing a lot of this kind of practicing, ChatGPT seems to find Rightmove quote unreliable, so it doesn't seem to be it quite as much. So interestingly, this particular he's called Marcus Late, and he says that basically he's getting a good chunk of his leads already from AI, and he can only see that going up, and it's converting much more highly into leads to agents. All right, because
Could that be because his portal's integrating things like conversational AI and smart search systems, which are actually doing some of that qualification of buyers before passing them through into it? Is it like maybe some sort of middleware in Brazil that we're maybe not seeing as much of here?
Yeah, interesting. So I know that those are around, and I think that they're really important. And yeah, I think that there's a huge market for that. I think what he's talking about very specifically is literally a user comes onto
Agent
the site
going in.
and that is 4x more likely to convert into a lead because it's come via ChatGPT or via one of the AIs, and they've already articulated what it is that they really want.
Yeah.
And then when they find it, they just click it and sending a lead. So yeah, I think it's huge. I think it's real kind of validation of actually, particularly when you look at the dominant portal, actually what's the point in time, and actually are there other ways to go about it? And yeah, if you want to know anything else, then just let me know. Anyway, I'll move on. But yes, really interesting. And also when that traffic comes through to your own website as well, really focus in on it. Try and treat it differently. Okay. As an agent, you'll get leads through from ChatGPT now. They are likely to convert 4 times more than your standard leads. So pay attention to them, understand which ones have come through that way, and make sure that you are jumping all over them really quickly. All right, so next up in our property news, we wanted to just touch on something that's coming down the track, which we know, which is the Renters' Rights Bill. Okay, and basically the agents are asking for at least 6 months to prepare for this, right?
That's it. There's such a significant change. Maybe my view is sometimes weighted heavily around London, where I've worked for a decade before I joined Reapit, and then obviously with some very big agencies where fee structures were slightly different. But it's not just about the agent here, but it's about the landlord, the tenants, everything that's coming. And the biggest shift we've probably had, and we've had several over the years in trying to be ready. You know, we had deposits was one of the first ones I remember back in 2007, April 2007, and it was actually meant to start in November 2006, but the government couldn't get everything in place in time. And this is going through, I think there's 2 more sessions to go through, but companies are looking at it, and I've seen both ends of the spectrum. There's people who are making changes now in anticipation of what they expect, and then there's others who are holding and praying that maybe it doesn't actually take place. But I think Nathan and Property Mark have come out saying that 6 months is what people are going to need to prepare, not just themselves, but make sure their clients understand how it all is. Even some of my friends at the moment aren't aware of it when chatting conversationally with people, and they've got portfolios of properties that are going to be affected by this. And it goes all the way from not being able to take rent up front anymore to the maximum amount of deposit we're allowed to take on properties, and the fact that if we're only allowed to take 5 weeks rent, but we're also told we have to take pets, how does that impact the amount of money you can hold in some of these properties? It's got so many different intricacies, and it impacts all sides of business, sort of returning to that London point where a lot of people take letting fees in up front to then paying the negotiators on that fee, and then actually not being able to do that anymore. Then there's a wide range that people have to look at their entire business and processes, and that takes a lot of preparation.
It really does. And yeah, and the impact on tenants as well is going to be significant, right? Because actually you look at students, you look at people from abroad who perhaps haven't got the bank accounts sorted. Actually being able to pay up front is actually really important. And it's actually going to almost disenfranchise a load of tenants who are good for it and would be able to move in, but this particular rule is going to block them. So yeah, look, it is something, and I know it's admin. I know you're reading stuff and it might change here, it might change there, but getting a broad understanding of it, as you say, Matt, checking in with Property Mark and a lot of kind of the lettings gurus out there, and just yeah, hearing what their kind of initial takes are, because it's gonna impact things significantly, and yeah, not necessarily for entirely for the better in many ways. Good. All right. So that is our little bit on renters' rights. I just wanted one more little note. This is a survey that Zoopla did about what it is that sellers want. And sellers, they love local. They care more about your local knowledge, your local presence over the house prices that you can leverage or you can charge. So yeah, I think this is really good. I think what it does is it backs up what you know anecdotally from just observations around who does really well in the local area. It tends to be an agent that really knows their local stuff. So that I think is at the end of our property news this week. We are now going to dip very gently into our weird AI of the week. Okay, this is a little bit, it's obviously weird because it's a weird AI of the week. Digital resurrection. Okay, if you have been perhaps bereaved and you have ever thought it might be nice to know what that person that's passed away would think about my current situation some weeks, months, years after they've left, then I is here in some ways to provide that insight. So this caught my eye basically because Rod Stewart, and we're talking about your kind of hair 80s stuff. Rod Stewart on his tour did a concert last week where essentially he brought Ozzy Osbourne, who we mentioned earlier on, RIP, the lead singer of Black Sabbath who died last month. He was beamed in from some kind of rock heaven. So they AI'd him. They also, where he was reunited with other departed stars, including Michael Jackson, Tina Turner, and Bob Marley. All right. It's just weird. And to go that kind of mainstream, that large, to get Michael Jackson to do some numbers and stuff like that is just weird. What are your thoughts on this, Matt?
It's not actually the first time this has happened, though, is it? It's we've had Tupac perform on stage posthumously. Anyway, after he was dead, and Tupac did it. We actually had Michael Jackson perform on stage at one point. In fact, didn't Frank Sinatra join David Bowie on stage doing something like this? I know it wasn't AI and it was video, but it's a similar sort of theme. I think the point now is it's to the extent that anybody could really be doing this, not just Sir Rod, if he must be a Sir by now, right? That famous Oxfordshire Scottish guy. And it's really accessible. And it really does, just reading the summary of the Guardian article, it does smack of a Black Mirror episode, this one. There is the thing the Black Mirror goes further is that the Deathbot, as you put it in the show notes, is actually a robot that's delivered to the house. And all of this stuff is uploaded into a machine that looks like her. I think it was a her or it was a him. Anyway, need to rewatch that Black Mirror, but it really goes to the extent that it's just so accessible now. That's why it's weird, right?
Yeah, and again, I always think about this more in a kind of personal capacity. It's actually what then happens if you have this option. Do you do it? If some tragedy strikes and so forth, where do you draw the line? Because I think that over in China, it is big business, billions, where actually they are recreating people's loved ones from their texts, from their emails, tones of voice, voicemails, all that sort of stuff, and then being able to present them. And it's a reasonable facsimile of actually the person themselves. And that I think how does that impact your ability to grieve? How does that, impact your ability to move on? So yeah, I think that there is, and this look, as part of our technological advancement, we always get presented with these moral dilemmas. This isn't brand new. This is that there are things that we always have to try to understand and work out. And are we comfortable with this? We're not comfortable with that. So yeah, I think it's going to ask a lot of questions. I'd like you, I think that for Sir Rod to go quite so large, quite so quickly, particularly after Ozzy Osbourne is barely cold. Is a little bit edgy. But yeah, look, I think this is going to be a topic that we come to again and again, if not necessarily for all of the big famous people, but yeah, just other people who are just really struggling with loss, and is a way to put off that sort of grieving process. All right, that is it for this week. Thank you so much for listening in as ever. Do please tell people about the pod if you think it's great. Obviously, we never want to push it too hard, but yeah, we love to get more and more listeners. And thank you very much indeed for listening yourselves. Matt, we were talking just earlier on about introducing a little bit of a new section.
That's it. I'm bringing in a reader's questions, if you will. So I know that people ask me when I catch up with them, and quite often they do say they're loving your pod, catching up. In fact, Jaslal from Repeat, I saw him just before the extreme gig, and he thanked me for mentioning IRE or Repeat bookings, and then said that I'd actually broken cover and said it did valuation bookings, and they're yet to release that. That's coming in September. So Jazz, there you go. I've corrected that. But
that was an exclusive actually on the pod, exclusive.
Yes, exactly. Exclusive. I didn't know it was an exclusive, but it's and a few other people who tend to use it as an opportunity to ask about maybe AI that we would recommend they use in their business. And obviously, you're out about meeting people. I occasionally chat to people when I break cover from my office, and it's a chance for people to actually write in and ask their questions if they're battling with something, and rather than waiting until we appear in their towns, that they could ask those questions of us, and we go through them on the pod each week.
100%. And there are no stupid questions about AI right now. Basically, we're in this kind of the foothills of something amazing. It's really difficult. And to try and find what we hope you would agree is trusted voices telling you the honest truth about what it is and what it does and whether it's worthwhile, all that sort of stuff. That's what we want you to get here. So yeah, if you've got any questions, again, nothing is too silly. We just want to help people out there to understand more about AI. And so yeah, that is what we will do. And yeah, we'll look hopefully so send them in to us, either DM us via LinkedIn, so it's Matt Goddard or it's Mal McCallion, or you can send an email in to me, mal@modelprop.ai, and we will be answering away from next week. All right, listen, Thanks, Matt. Really good to catch up again.
Likewise, Mal. And happy birthday, +1. I hope you enjoy the rest of your festivities. 21 again, right?
You know it. So actually probably 21 times 2.5-ish. But yeah, no, I had a great time. Thank you very much indeed. And yes, no, it is. Yes, it's been a busy old few weeks, what with the tour ending and stuff like that. So it was good to get just a nice family time. So loved it. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Right, guys, good to see everybody. Thank you very much indeed for listening in. We will catch up with you again next week with plenty more property and AI news.
Have a great week, everyone.